When you call in a protective services referral, let's say it meets all 4 of those criteria, it's accepted for investigation. Of 100 referrals, probably 50% of them are accepted for investigation. A protective services worker is assigned to go out into the home and to meet with a child. And we have time frames depending on the severity of the allegations. At the very latest, we have to commence investigation within 24 hours and within 72 hours have face-to-face contact. That's at the very latest that we can do that. So it's important for us, let's say if you're a school teacher and you're trying to clean off your desk and you're thinking about 2:30, 3 o'clock, you know, I've been worried about Johnny, you know, maybe I should call a protective services worker. We would appreciate if you could call those things in as soon as you have concerns rather than wait till later, because it's harder for us to meet time frames. And in the ideal world, it's nice for us to be able to go first to the school and to talk with the children, and we can go into the school and talk to the children without the parents knowing. We have to notify them within a short amount of time afterwards that we have done that. And we're not allowed to interview the children in the presence of the alleged perpetrator. We have to interview the child alone. So school is an ideal place to do that. So that's real important to do. A protective services worker goes out into the home and meets with a child face-to-face at school or somewhere, and then they meet with the parents. Michigan a few years ago went from a 2-category system of substantiation or non-substantiation to a 5-category system. And I think that's really good. Someone who is a sexual predator, who finds single mothers to live with and sexually abuses their children, as opposed to perhaps a parent who was very concerned about their child and worried and overreacted and over-disciplined, is a whole lot different spectrums. I don't think they should both be on the central registry for child abuse and neglect on the same proportionate level. Now, the first category, category 5, let's say we get a referral that says dirty house, toddlers walking through animal feces, broken back door window, you know, moldy food piled up, you know, the whole nasty type of thing. And a protective services worker goes out there and they find nothing. You know, it's house beautiful, it's very clean, it's very neat. They don't have toddlers, they have school-aged children, they don't have animals in the house, none of those. That's what we call a category 5. There's no indication of abuse or neglect whatsoever. Take that same referral and the protective services worker goes out to the home and yeah, they have animals in the house. There's no feces on the floor. The kitty litter is kind of like overflowing and should have been changed. And yeah, there's last night's dishes, but there's no broken glass. There's really no abuse or neglect there, but the protective service worker might notice while she's there that, you know, things seem to be a little strained in that family. Mom looks like she could use some help with parenting, and their income has been recently reduced and they could use some help with stretching the food dollars and maybe some help with some organization of the household to make things a little more routine. And the protective services worker could refer that family to some community services, such as MSU extension program, a community parenting program, that type of thing. Now, category 3 might be we get a call saying that a child came home, 16-year-old came home, obviously intoxicated at 2 or 3 in the morning. Father and son got into a scuffle. Dad grabbed the son's arm, pushed him against the wall. The son has this hand mark right here. Now, remember what I said, if there's physical bruising, that is legally considered abuse and neglect. But we also go out and we do sort of a risk assessment. Well, father feels badly that this happened, so does the son. they're willing to kind of work on this problem, get substance abuse treatment, kind of go to counseling together. It's an isolated incident, it never happened before. The family generally seems to be functioning well. They're at low risk. So even though we would substantiate that abuse occurred, we would not put that person on central registry as a child abuser. They would not be listed as such. Now, category 2, let's take that same dirty house referral. We go out there, oh indeed there's feces on the floor, there's toddlers, and there's footprints in the feces. There's moldy dishes in the living room, there's broken glass at the back door. This is not a safe environment for these children. As it stands currently, it is, it is not a good environment for the children. There is neglect and abuse. We would find that there was abuse and neglect in this case, physical neglect. They would be substantiated, put on central registry as child neglect, and protective services case would be open. Now it's important to remember, even if we substantiate, we find that there's abuse and neglect, we really try to remove the problems in the home, not remove the children. So a protective services worker would go into that home anywhere from once a month to once a week, depending on the risk assessment and the needs of the family. A service plan would be set up. We would try and help the family, set the family up with services as needs be, in order that the children could remain in the home safe with services. Now, category 1, this is where we go into a situation, and it's usually beyond the dirty house situation. It could be a sex abuse situation where the father was sexually abusing the daughter. It could be, it's a situation where the children are generally not safe to remain in that home, and we would petition the court for the children to be removed. We would first attempt to place the children with relatives, and if that was not anybody that would be appropriate for the children, we would place the children in foster care. And unless it's a mandatory petition, such as sex abuse, severe physical abuse, and we do get those much more than we would like to think, unfortunately, we would still try and to have those children be reunited with the parents. We would set up intensive services and treatment plan. The court would order certain services, and we would still work towards those children coming home, unless it was a situation where the children had been so physically harmed or so harmed repeatedly after neglectful situations. And then we would petition for termination of parental rights, and the children would be placed for adoption. And I think I'm going to turn it over next to Dick for some of the legal aspects of it.
Thank you, Kathy. My name is Richard Taylor. I'm a detective with the Huron County Sheriff's Office. I investigate major crimes, which include child abuse, neglect, and criminal sexual conduct. The police receive child abuse and neglect or criminal sexual conduct cases one of two ways. The first way is the Department of Human Services will call and request a criminal investigation. The second way is the police receive a call from a concerned parent, family member, acquaintance, or a mandated reporter, such as, but not limited to, a school teacher, medical professional, clergy, or child care provider. When the police receive that call, the investigation begins with an interview of the person who reported the allegations. This interview is conducted to obtain detailed information in order to determine the urgency of the case. If the police receive a call from someone other than the Department of Human Services, typically we would consult DHS and determine if their involvement is necessary at this point. It may be necessary to immediately remove the victim and other family members from the home in order to assure their safety. We would arrange for a safe living environment for the displaced family. we may remove the suspect from the family home, either by arresting the person or finding an alternative living arrangement until the investigation is completed. Either way, the victim must be protected and have no contact with the alleged perpetrator. The police would gather evidence before it could be destroyed or moved. Evidence such as photographs of the victim's injuries, clothing, bedding, objects used by the perpetrator, or trace evidence such as hair or body fluids. The evidence gathered would eventually be sent to the Michigan State Police Forensics Lab for analysis. A search warrant may be necessary to gather certain evidence such as medical records, DNA samples, or evidence from a residence or vehicle. A forensics interview would then be conducted of the victim. Depending on the age of the victim, a follow-up interview may be necessary if further information is obtained from the witnesses. Other potential witnesses will be interviewed, such as siblings, schoolmates, friends, or family members, to determine if they saw anything or if the victim told them about the assault. When all the interviews are completed and the evidence is all gathered and analyzed, a completed report will be sent to the Huron County Prosecuting Attorney's Office for review. At this point, the police wait to hear from the prosecutor's office whether criminal charges are issued. The mandated reporter is critical to a swift investigation by law enforcement and an integral part of the safety and well-being of the victim and any potential victims that may come in contact with the alleged perpetrator. Next in line would be Huron County Prosecutor Tim Rakowski.